Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Matty out West. Thank you for tuning in to the video. So today we're going to be watching a basketball video together. And if you don't already know, I am a huge fan of the NBA. Funny enough, I wasn't always into any team sports. For a majority of my life, I was always into combat sports. And it wasn't up until 2020 when I got into basketball. You know, the whole NBA was shut down. The bubble situation was going on. We had a lot of free time and I was chopping it up with some of my friends. They were talking basketball, and among themselves, they were talking about specifically LeBron James. And mind you, I know who LeBron James is. I know who Kobe Bryant. I know the different superstars, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, all this and that, right? I know the different superstars over the past decades, but I never really sat down to digest the game of basketball in a sense, or like really wanted to understand it. And I knew LeBron had won a few championships, right? So I didn't think he was still any good. I mean, I knew he was in the game for a long time. I asked the question, yo, is LeBron still any good? And my homie goes, have you seen this man play? I'm sorry, no, I haven't. Put me on, like, show me what's up, right? He pulls up a highlight reel and I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool, but how consistent is this really? And my man goes, dude, all these highlights I'm showing you are from one game. And that was just, what? Hello? Excuse me? That blew my mind because he was doing things I didn't even think was like possible in the game of basketball. I didn't even think certain things that you could do in basketball was possible with what LeBron was doing. And I was like, dude, is this like, can other people do this? So it got me pulled in to becoming a fan of basketball. And I wouldn't go so far as saying that LeBron James is my favorite player.
LeBron James.
Even though he's kind of my intro into getting into basketball. There are other players that I enjoy watching just as much as LeBron, or even more so than LeBron, which leads into the topic of today's video, which is my man, Ja Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies. Very big on Ja Morant. I'm a big fan of his. I remember watching him in the 2020 to 2021 season, and I was like, man, this kid is explosive. He's exciting to watch. He does crazy things with the basketball. And mind you, he's only like 6'3". I think barely even 6'3". But he be putting up posters, dunks. He be blocking shots as if he was like 7 foot. It's crazy to watch. My man got more bounce than a bounce house. It's wild. I kept following him, and at the time, you know, his team wasn't the greatest. I mean, they already had some very great pieces that led them into this season, this previous season. But their team just wasn't gelling together. And so this is a video that we're going to be watching by the content creator Juicy Sports. The title is called If Ja Morant Fixes This, It's Over. And even though I'm a new fan to basketball, I do analyze things quite quickly. I do enjoy learning about things, especially the game of basketball. I'm still learning different things. But from what I've seen, although he's great at letting his teammates eat, putting the ball into the basket, and he has phenomenal basketball IQ, and he's a great floor general. But from what I've seen, although he does have some great blocks, and if you haven't seen any highlight reels, I suggest you watch some of them of Ja Morant because they're crazy, especially some of his blocks. I mean, I remember, was it in the playoff? I don't remember if it was a playoff or a regular season game, but like he went up for a block and he used both hands, and I swear his like whole head went above like the backboard. It was crazy. It was crazy. But I think that was that a playoff game? What's that against the Timberwolves? I don't remember. I would have to go back and watch it. But yeah, go ahead and watch that. But despite him being able to do those kind of blocks and like athletic stuff, I do feel like he is somewhat of a liability on defense. There are a decent amount of times where he kind of chills on defense, but nonetheless, he's still a great like offensive player. And even though he drives the basket and he's good at putting the ball into the hoop, his three-point shooting, although his shots do go in, I feel like he could probably shoot them at a better clip. I think, if I remember correctly, his three-point percentage is like around league average, if not just slightly above league average. Okay, so it says here that from the regular season and as well as I guess the postseason, he shot at around 34%, which is not bad, but I feel like it could definitely be better, and it would definitely change his games and take it to a whole new level, but it's still not bad. So I'm assuming Juicy, he or she is probably going to touch upon that, and maybe even some other things that I don't know. Like I said, I'm still pretty new to the game of basketball, so if there are things that maybe other people see that I don't, I'm willing to be enlightened. Shoot, I'm even willing to be humbled if I need to, you know, like I don't mind being humbled. So without further ado, we're gonna get into the video. Yes, I noticed that my mic has static and I don't know why, but I'm gonna fix it, so don't worry, but you're just gonna have to bear with it for this video. So yeah.
If Ja Morant can fix this aspect of his game, it's literally over for the rest of the NBA. Ja has been one of the better players in the NBA ever since he was drafted. And not only was he putting up incredible numbers, he was also meshing very well with his teammates.
Pay attention to some of these highlights here. He's playing some of them. So yeah. just pay attention. It's a little sped up, so maybe like I could slow it down, but for the sake of keeping the video as like short as possible and kind of trim the fat, it's at 1.5 speed. But I would highly recommend watching on your own time a Ja Morant highlight reel. It is wild.
And proving to be a leader and help his team actually win basketball games. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports. I make opinionative NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in—
Really? I'm gonna have to check you out on that, Juicy. Is he gonna like have it somewhere? It's probably in his description. I'll find out.
The link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it.
I need an intro like that, man.
Ja Morant was drafted with the #2 overall selection during the 2019 NBA.
He was number 2. Who was number 1? Was that Zion? Okay, yeah, so it was Zion. And it's funny, I remember this because, like I said, I only got into basketball in 2020, right? So I remember because his face and his name was just everywhere on ESPN, Gatorade commercials, I believe Nike and Jordan brand, and like even like a bunch of TV commercials. It was wild. And I wasn't even a fan of basketball, and I saw his face everywhere. So yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, Zion's a whole different beast. When the Pelicans come back into the season and Zion is healthy and he's looking pretty good. He's looking like he lost a lot of the weight that he gained when he was injured. Man, they have some great pieces on their team. I mean, they got what? CJ McCollum. They got Brandon Ingram. They got that Jackson Hayes dude. They got Jose Alvarado, who's a pest on defense. I actually enjoy watching him very much. And his story is phenomenal. I mean, if you guys don't know his story and you're interested, go look it up. It's a very like humbling story from where he came from and how he got to where he is now. And on top of that, they got Zion Williamson. So yeah, it's going to be a stacked team next season among the various teams in the NBA that made crazy acquisitions this offseason. So nonetheless, I mean, going number 2 after Zion, not bad, not bad.
NBA draft by the Memphis Grizzlies. And originally when Ja was getting drafted, it was pretty clear that this guy was a special talent. And the expectations that he had going into the NBA were extraordinarily high, due to the way he was playing during the regular season in college, but also especially the way he was able to perform in the NCAA tournament, where even though his team wasn't all that good, Ja was able to single-handedly win his—
See, so I don't know if I need to do a better job on like following up with NCAA or like college basketball, because I mean that's where all the new talent, or majority of the new talent, we can't forget about the G League and people who go undrafted, like, you know, like Alex Caruso or even Jose Alvarado, like I mentioned earlier, right? I don't remember if he came in through the G League. I believe he came in undrafted, but nonetheless, yeah, you know, I feel like I should probably do a better job in like keeping up with like the college, at least the younger talent coming up, just so that I guess, I don't know, have more people to keep an eye out for, I guess. But I mean, nonetheless, if they're coming into the league, they're coming into the league, you know what I mean? And I'll end up watching them anyway. So
team some games in the tournament. And after those performances, his draft stock was just extremely high. And the expectation that most had for Ja was this guy was going to be a superstar. Now, whether that meant sooner or later, it didn't really matter. People just saw Ja as a very, very special talent. But once he actually got drafted, it was pretty clear that this guy actually was a special talent, and he definitely was living up to expectations. As in his rookie season, he averaged 18 points per game.
Look at him. Let's just rewind that a little bit. Remember what I said? My man is 6'3", putting posters up on 7-foot dudes.
Or later, it didn't really matter. People just saw Ja as a very, very special talent.
Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God.
Whether that meant sooner or later, it didn't really matter. People just saw Ja as a very, very special talent. But once he actually got drafted, it was pretty clear that this guy actually was a special talent, and he definitely was living up to expectations. As in his rookie season, he averaged 18 points per game on 47% shooting from the field, 3.9 rebounds on 7.3 assists.
Wait, what is that stat line?
Rookie season, he averaged 18 points per game on 47% shooting from the field, 3.9 rebounds on 7.3 assists per game as well.
Okay, so he said, let's run it back.
He averaged 18 points per game.
So 18 points per game on 47% shooting, damn near 48. That's a crazy stat line. And then was that 33% from deep? I'm assuming 3.9 rebounds, so about 4 rebounds, and then around 7 assists. That's a lot for like he said his rookie season, 2019, right? Yeah. That is a lot. Did he get an all rookie team? All right, so yeah, there he is, all rookie first team, Memphis Grizzlies. Kendrick Nunn on the Miami Heat, who's on the Lakers now. Brandon Clark, Memphis Grizzlies. Wow, they had 2 people from the Grizzlies that was on the all-rookie first team. That is amazing. And of course, Zion. I mean, come on. How could he not make it? I think he was averaging like 20-some points, maybe even more than that in his first season in the NBA, right? Something like that. And then Eric Pascal, and then second team. There's some good names on the second team as well. But yeah, that's wild. Like, I don't know how often it is that rookies, I mean, put up those kind of numbers. Somebody can let me know. But I feel like even getting even 15 plus average by the end of the season might be a lot, right? I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Game on 47% shooting from the field, 3.9 rebounds on 7.3 assists per game as well. And those numbers are extremely impressive for anybody, but especially for a rookie. But even besides those numbers, when you just watched Ja play out there, it was just very apparent that this guy was special. The way that he was able to score for himself, but also create for others, was just at a very high level.
These highlights are crazy, by the way.
After his rookie season ended, the expectations were raised even further. Because it was pretty clear that if Ja was able to play at that level just in his rookie season, just imagine how much better this guy can get with 3, 4, 5 years of NBA experience and how he would compare to his counterparts at that point. Now, although most people...
Yeah, my man is young. I mean, he got drafted in 2019, right? How old is he now? He's probably like... Did he get drafted when he was like 19? Like at the earliest age? I think now it's like 19. So he's probably like 22, 23 years old. So my man is very young. He still has a lot of potential. He has a lot of room for growth. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That's going to be sick. Like I'm hoping that it's not one of those situations where he's already reached his prime and this is just going to be how he plays until like he starts regressing, which I'm hoping doesn't happen, you know, but I feel like that might be even a possibility, right? But who knows? Hopefully not. And especially with his way of play, how he's so explosive and he like just drives into the paint like the way he does. Like, it just hopefully the whole like Derrick Rose situation doesn't come up where he gets riddled with like injuries and it just kind of ruins his career in a sense. I wouldn't say Derrick Rose had a bad career, but it definitely impacted him negatively, right? Like, he could have been a lot more than where he kind of ended in a sense, if that kind of makes any sense. I don't know.
People expected Ja to continuously get better each and every season. There still at the same time was somewhat of a question on whether or not Ja would be able to improve his game after that rookie season, and if so, by how much. Because we have seen a ton of examples in the past of players with a ton of talent that played very well in the rookie season just completely fall off after that. And of course, it's not the same in every case, but typically the reason for that is that player obviously has a ton of talent, but they don't work all that hard on their game season after season.
Hard work beats talent. That's that Mamba mentality right there.
But going into his second season, it was pretty apparent that Ja was not going to be one of those players, and that he did work extremely hard in his game. As in his second year, Ja improved his numbers basically across the board, averaging 19 points per game on 45% shooting from the field.
So 19 points. So he went up a whole like almost like 2 points on average. And then although statistically he didn't do as well, I mean, his production was a lot higher, it seems like. So that's good. And it's a good sign of improvement for sure.
4 rebounds on 7.4 assists. Now, although it wasn't much of an improvement from his rookie season statistically, there were some new aspects that Ja added within his game and some refinements, and he just looked a little bit better out there. But of course, it wasn't a huge upgrade from his rookie year. But in his third season, which was this previous season, that's really where Ja broke out. He significantly improved his stats across the board, averaging around 27 points per game.
Oh my God, let's go back.
That's really where Ja broke out. He significantly improved his stats across the board, averaging around 27 points per game on 49% shooting from.
Okay, what we got? So he went up damn near 10 points in production, which is wild because that's like you're like at the upper echelon of like the scorers in the NBA at that point, right? And he shot almost 50%, around 49%, around 34%. We already talked about earlier. And then putting up great rebounding numbers, great assist numbers still. I believe, what was that? Was that a block or is that steals? Either way, these are still good stats.
From the field, 5.7 rebounds on 6.7 assists. Now, probably the best thing about this season was not only was he putting up phenomenal numbers, but he was also helping his team win, and they had the best season in a long time. They were the second seed in the Western Conference, led.
Yeah, that's wild.
Numbers, but he was also helping his team win, and they had the best season in a long time. They were the second seed in.
Okay, so here's a funny story, right? So this season, the 2022 season, they were the second seed, right? And so last year they were a playing team. And if you don't know, the NBA has this I don't know what you want to call it. It's a tournament before the actual tournament. So to get into the playoffs, you have to be the best 8 teams on each conference. There's an Eastern and Western Conference, right? So you have to be the best 8 teams on each conference. And for, I guess it's kind of a new thing. I think it was like maybe a few years ago they implemented the play-in, but the teams from 7, 8, 9, and 10, they have to play a tournament bracket style before actually getting into the playoffs to clinch the 7th and the 8th seed. I'm not gonna go into like who wins what because it's like 4 teams, right? And it's like there's like a loser bracket in a sense that they play for a spot. I'm not gonna explain it. You can look it up. But last year, right, me and my homie, the same homie that brought me into basketball, we went to Vegas together, and then oddly enough, it was the first day of the play-ins. And what do you know? The Grizzlies and the Warriors were playing that day. And so we were checking out the sports book, right? And we saw that the Grizzlies were plus 300. And at the time, I was already big on Ja Morant, but I did not think they were going to win. Although plus 300, how could you pass that up, right? It was our first day. We still had all the money in the world to lose. And I was like, hey, yo, Devontae. My homie's name is Devontae. But I was like, Devontae, let's put $100 down. Right, we got money. It's our first day, right? Let's put $100 down. If we lose, it's not gonna hurt us that much. If we win, hey, great, right? Funny enough, the Grizzlies won, and we were up $300, so that was sick. They did end up getting knocked out in the first round, though. Nonetheless, from being a play-in team to clinching the 2 seed the next season later, that's crazy. And ended up losing to the Warriors, which is, I guess kind of makes for like a good comeback story. And for this particular series, me and my same friend Devontae, me and him, we went all in on the Grizzlies for some jerseys. We bet our homie Randy, we bet him for jerseys. He wanted some Warriors jerseys. We wanted some Grizzlies jerseys. And so it was a 2 against 1. My friend Randy ended up winning, obviously because the Warriors won. And he got 2 jerseys out of us. So Randy, if you're watching this, screw you. Nah, I'm just playing. I love you, buddy. It was still an exciting series, even though the Warriors did take it in 6. It was fun to watch. And yeah, the Grizzlies don't have as much playoff experience. Last year, I would kind of consider that a fluke because the Warriors did have kind of a depleted team. I believe Klay was still out. And if I remember correctly, I think Draymond was also out for that play-in game. So Steph Curry was, I think, the best player on the court. I don't even think they had Jordan Poole just yet. Or even if they did, I don't think he was playing just as well as he did this season. And I think Jonathan Kuminga was also a rookie on their team this year, right? So yeah, I mean, they didn't have, like, I guess a lot of the pieces that they had for this year's playoff run. I would definitely consider that a fluke last season. But yeah, this year, I was never really like a team person. I never really understood the concept of, having my team, right? But I will say the Grizzlies are my favorite team to watch. I wouldn't go so far as saying they're my team, but they're my favorite team to watch. It's just exciting and fun to watch.
Led by Ja Morant, and they were just playing great basketball as a unit. Ja specifically was doing a phenomenal job at scoring for himself by driving all the way to the basket and finishing at a pretty high level, either through contact, dunking over players, or just finishing around them with crafty layups. He was also doing a nice job of putting up floaters in the lane, but in my opinion, the most impressive thing was the way that he was setting up his teammates, and he really looked like an NBA veteran out there, just the way he was able to do it. He ran the pick and roll extremely effectively, either the pick and roll or pick and pop, and what made that so dangerous is when he ran it specifically with a guy like Triple J, for example, there was a threat of him dishing off the
Jaren Jackson Jr. I love watching that dude play. He's just so good on the defensive end, shooting threes, great 3-and-D player. Man, he's great. Although he does commit a lot of fouls, and if he can just stay in the game as long as possible without committing fouls. And to be fair, I don't want to give Jaren Jackson Jr. all the flack because everyone on the team was like either fouling out or damn near fouling out every single game. So I'm pretty sure they probably still would have lost against the Warriors, but it may have been a different story. And even the whole Timberwolves series, that may have been a whole different story. It may have gone a lot differently. You know what I'm saying?
Ball to Triple J, either for a dunk or layup for him, or there was also a threat that Ja would just keep it himself and score for himself. And overall, just the way he was able to play from top to bottom last season was just incredible to watch, and it was a significant improvement. Now, it was somewhat disappointing the way that the Grizzlies lost in the playoffs last year, not necessarily to the team they lost to in the Warriors that ended up winning a championship that season, but just the fact that the Grizzlies lost in the second round after having such a great regular season was certainly somewhat disappointing. But of course, the Grizzlies are very young, and people expect them.
You're telling me, bro, I lost a jersey because of this. So, yeah.
To continuously get better each and every season. So I definitely am very excited to see what the Grizzlies are able to do this season. But now let's get into the question of the video, which is what aspect of Ja Morant's game does he really need to improve at this point in order to make him an even better player than he already is at this point? Now, of course, for any player, there's always certain things that they can work on, and even if it's small little improvements that they make each and every season, eventually when you look back in 5 or 6 seasons, they're a completely different player than they were in the past. But I feel like for Ja Morant, he's so good at a bunch of different things, but the one glaring weakness, in my opinion, is the fact that he doesn't really shoot the 3 ball at a very high percentage. Now, of course, he's able to hit that 3-point shot. That's what I said. He hits it at an okay percentage, I would say, but if Ja was able to add that within his game a little bit more and really just be more of a threat from that 3-point range, I think it would benefit not only him, but also his teammates pretty significantly. Because at that point, if Ja was a really good 3-point shooter, the defense would need to respect him a little bit more from out there, and then he would be able to get to his bread and butter a lot easier, which is his driving and finishing ability. But also, if the defense backed off him, then he can just easily shoot that 3 ball, and if he hits it at a pretty high percentage, he would then be helping himself.
See, so I agree with that because his bread and butter, like Juicy said, is driving the paint. But because that's his main, I guess, offensive weapon, that can only go so far when teams start to realize, okay, this is what he's going to do. They're going to start stacking up in the paint. They're going to start crowding the paint whenever he drives in. And it may be a lot more difficult for Ja to really get the ball into the basket. I mean, he still does it on top of like 7-foot centers or like big men, power forwards, small forwards, whatever. But if that's the only thing he does, then teams will eventually start to pick up on that and figure out ways to deter that. So what Juicy's saying, I agree with 100%. If Ja can get his 3-point shooting to maybe, I don't know, close to 40%, it doesn't even have to be 40. I feel like it could be like as long as it's between maybe like, I don't know, 37 to 40%, then he'd become a completely different issue if he wasn't already now.
But also his teammates as well. And overall, if Ja added that 3-point jump shot within his game, at least a little bit more than it is now, I think it would just open up a lot of things for him, as I mentioned before, driving all the way to the basket. But I also think it would open open up a lot of things for his teammates because I think the paint would be a little easier to cut to. But of course,
Exactly.
whenever you're talking about a player making an improvement this significant, it's not going to happen overnight, and this is something that I'm looking for Ja to improve slightly each and every season. Now, from the time Ja was drafted up until now, I definitely have seen certain improvements in terms of that three-point jump shot, and it's definitely encouraging to see, but of course, I would just like to see him continue on that path of continuously improving his three-point jump shot, and maybe even accelerating that process a little bit as well. And if he's able to improve that jump shot a little bit each and every season, I would say in 3 or 4 seasons from now, I see no reason not to believe why Ja wouldn't be, at the very least, a pretty good three-point shooter, shooting around 37-38% from deep. Now, if I had to guess at this point, I would probably say, in my opinion, I do see Ja as a player that would improve his three-point percentage to around 37% from deep. Now, I don't think Ja would ever be a great three-point shooter or really good three-point shooter, but if he's just at the very least decent, that's all he needs based upon the rest of his skill set. And of course,
Yeah, because I will say from what I've seen, and I don't watch all the games. I don't have the time to really watch. I wish I could. I wish I could watch like a lot more games a lot more often. But from what I've seen, it's like it's not that he has an issue picking his shots. I feel like he picks good shots as far as like where he's at on the floor on the perimeter. It's just being able to put the ball in, like Juicy's saying. So if he can put the ball in while at the same time making great shot selections, my man's going to be a completely different beast and the same animal. I think that's what Kobe said, right? Or was it, are you the different animal but the same beast? No, I think, are you a different beast but the same animal? I'm pretty sure that's what he said. I got to go look this up now. All right, so the quote goes, but are you a different animal and the same beast? And Kanye was like, what the fuck you talking about, Kobe Bryant? Goated commercial.
I think that's the next step for Ja. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think if Ja added a three-point jump shot within his game, he would be unstoppable, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, check one of these 2 videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out, guys.
Oh, I guess that's it. I need an ending like that too. Okay, so it was pretty interesting that he really only touched upon the three-point shooting and not the defense, but I guess I can kind of understand. I mean, I could be wrong about Ja's defense. He could be a lot better. I just from what I've seen in games I've watched, he does kind of lack on the defensive end besides the insane blocks that he will put up. But like, I guess definitely his team, he's already got some decent, actually, I'd say even great defensive pieces. He's got Zaire Williams. He's got Xavier Tillman. He's got Jaren Jackson Jr. He's got Dylan Brooks. How could I almost forget? And Steven Adams. Like, those are all great defensive players. So I guess in a way, because of their defensive prowess, maybe Ja being what he is on his defensive skills may not be that big of an issue, especially because he does so many other great things on the floor. You know, maybe defense is something that he may not need to worry about so much, although it could help if he did kind of work on it. But hey, great video by Juicy Sports. I'm probably going to end up subscribing and see what more videos he comes out with, because I'm always willing to learn more about the game of basketball. Like I said, I'm a big fan, so I'm learning this. If you don't know basketball, then we can learn this together. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be part of the Noti Gang. I'm out. Peace.